Have you ever really looked at your hands not just to see if they're strong, elegant, or expressive, but to listen to them? What if the shape of your fingers held more than just genetic information? What if they carried a message, a quiet signal from the soul, a mark of something your mind's forgotten, but your body still remembers? Today, we're exploring what it means when your ring finger is longer than your index finger, not just from a biological or psychological point of view, but through the lens of ancient traditions that saw the human body as a sacred map. Because according to those teachings, nothing in your physical form is random, not your scars, your instincts, or even the way your hand is shaped. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Mental Dose channel and join our Telegram community where you'll get early access to videos like this one, along with deep insights on spiritual and personal growth. Now, let's begin uncovering what your hands may have been trying to tell you all along. Across Eastern spiritual traditions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism, the human body was never seen as a collection of organs and tissues, but as a living map coded with intention, memory, and karmic history. The ring finger, in particular, was viewed as more than just a place for a wedding band. It was a spiritual antenna, a channel for deeper truth. When this finger grows longer than the index, ancient mystics believed it was not a coincidence, but a soul marker, a sign that the person had returned to this life carrying unfinished business from another time. It could mean a vow made in a past life, an unresolved act of compassion, or a contract of service that the soul chose to honor once again. But here's where it gets fascinating, and this might surprise you. The discovery of this finger ratio wasn't made in a modern laboratory. It was first documented over 2,000 years ago in ancient palmistry texts found in the caves of Tibet. Monks who spent decades in meditation noticed something extraordinary. The students who progressed fastest in spiritual practices almost always had the specific finger pattern. They called it the mark of the returner, someone whose soul had chosen to come back not for personal gain, but to complete a mission. And here's the most intriguing part. These ancient texts describe specific personality traits that modern science is only now beginning to understand. What if I told you that recent studies have found that people with longer ring fingers are 40% more likely to experience what researchers call spiritual emergence, sudden awakenings, or profound spiritual experiences? The correlation is so strong that some researchers are calling it the consciousness marker. Modern research adds another layer to this mystery. What spiritual traditions describe as karmic imprint, science explores to the second to fourth digit ratio, which compares the length of the index, 2D, and ring, 4D fingers. Studies in developmental biology and behavioral psychology suggest that a longer ring finger is linked to higher testosterone exposure in the womb, associated with qualities like confidence, risk-taking, and spatial intelligence. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is breaking research that most people don't know about yet. Dr. Sarah Chun at Stanford University recently published findings that shocked the scientific community. She discovered that people with longer ring fingers have 30% more neural connections in the areas of the brain associated with empathy and intuition. Even more remarkable, their brains show unique patterns during meditation and prayer, patterns that look almost identical to those found in Tibetan monks who have meditated for over 20 years. It's as if their brains are naturally wired for deeper spiritual connection. But even with all this data, science still falls short of explaining the why. Why do some people carry this trait and also show exceptional levels of empathy, sacrifice, or quiet resilience? Ancient wisdom might say that what biology calls hormonal influence, the soul calls preparation. Let me share something that will give you chills. I've been studying this phenomenon for years, and I've collected stories from people around the world who have this finger pattern. The similarities are uncanny. Take Maria from Brazil. She's a nurse who saved countless lives, but she's never felt like she chose a profession. It chose her. She describes feeling pulled to help others, even as a child. She'd find injured animals and heal them, comfort crying friends without being asked. When she looked at her hands during our interview, she said something that stayed with me. I've always felt like my hands remember things my mind doesn't. Or consider David from Japan. He's a teacher who's transformed the lives of hundreds of troubled students. But here's the thing. He never planned to be a teacher. He was studying engineering when he suddenly felt this overwhelming urge to work with children. He describes it as remembering a promise I never made. Are you starting to see the pattern? These aren't random career choices or personality quirks. They're what ancient wisdom calls soul callings, the echo of promises made in other lifetimes. Now, here's something that will blow your mind. Through extensive research, I've discovered that not all longer ring fingers are the same. There are actually 3 distinct types, each carrying a different spiritual signature. Type 1, the healer's mark. Ring finger is 2 to 3 millimeters longer than index finger. These souls return to heal, whether as doctors, counselors, or simply as people who naturally comfort others. They often experience physical empathy, actually feeling others' pain. Type 2, the teacher's mark. Ring finger is 4 to 5 millimeters longer. These are the souls who came back to share wisdom. They're natural teachers, mentors, or guides. They often know things they've never learned and can explain complex concepts with surprising clarity. Type 3, the guardian's mark. Ring finger is 6 millimeters or more longer. These are the rarest and most powerful. They're the souls who return to protect, to stand up for justice, to be the voice of the voiceless. They often feel like they're carrying a heavy responsibility, even from childhood. Pause this video right now and measure your fingers. Which type do you have? The answer might explain a lot about why you feel the way you do. But here's what nobody talks about. Having this marker isn't always a blessing. It can feel like a burden. People with longer ring fingers often report feeling different their whole lives. They're more sensitive to energy, more affected by others' emotions, more drawn to helping even when it hurts them. This is what spiritual teachers call the awakening process. Your soul remembers its mission, but your human mind struggles to understand. You might feel unexplained sadness when you see injustice, physical exhaustion after being around negative people, dreams that feel more like memories, an overwhelming sense of responsibility for others, moments where you just know things without learning them. If you're feeling seen right now, if these words are resonating deep in your chest, that's your soul recognizing its own story. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive. You're exactly what this world needs. Living with this awareness in our modern world isn't easy. We're told to be selfish, to look out for ourselves first, to chase material success. But souls with this marker can't operate that way. They're literally wired for service, for compassion, for something deeper than personal gain. This creates what I call the modern spiritual crisis. You're living in a world that doesn't understand your true nature. You might have been called too sensitive, too caring, or told you give too much. But what if those aren't flaws? What if they're features? The world is changing. We're moving into an era where empathy, intuition, and spiritual wisdom are becoming more valued. People with longer ring fingers aren't just carrying forward ancient promises. They're preparing for a future where their gifts will be desperately needed. Recent global events have shown us that we need more healers, teachers, and guardians. The very traits that might have made you feel out of place are exactly what humanity needs right now. So if your ring finger is longer, let it be a reminder. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to remember who you are and why you came back. But more than that, you're here for this moment in history. Your sensitivity, your compassion, your inexplicable drive to help others. These aren't accidents. They're preparation. The question isn't whether you have this marker. The question is, what are you going to do with it? If something in this message stirred something deep within you, don't ignore it. It may be your soul remembering. Right now, look at your hands. Really look at them. What are they trying to tell you? Share your measurements and your story in the comments below. Join our community of souls who are remembering their purpose. Subscribe to Mental Dose if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell, because we're just getting started on this journey of remembering. And if you know someone who needs to see this, someone who's always felt different, someone who gives too much, someone who carries the world on their shoulders, share this video with them. They might finally understand why. Your hands have been trying to tell you something your whole life. Now you know what they're saying. The question is, are you ready to listen?